next question out here.
Sorry about the fucking language.
No, he isn't.
What do you think it is about the Friday the 13th series that's really built up the fan base? What do you think the success of the movies is, and why is Jason such a favourable character to the audience?
I got a good answer for that. I had just finished making a film with Jeff Bridges called Against All Odds, and we were back in Mississippi, and we were making Starman, and we're out quite a ways from town at a bus stop, kind of a rural area, and it was evening, and we parked, and they had 4 or 5 newspapermen there from the local paper, and they were interviewing Jeff and talking to him, and they called him to go in and do a shot. And as he was leaving, he said, "Turn around and talk to Ted. He just finished a movie." And so they looked at me and they said, "What did you do?" And I said, "A little thing called Friday the 13th. And they said, "Well, what did you do?" I said, "I was Jason." So we finished that night, and the next day we came out and we were driving in. The parking lot was packed with cars. And I said, "Jeff, you're going to be signing autographs till you're blue in the face. Look at all these cars. There's hundreds of cars out there." And as we pulled up, they all start hollering, "Where's Jason?" He looked at me and said, "Who the hell is Jason?" I said, "That's me." True story, that's the power of Jason. And that's not any bull, that's absolutely the truth, and that happened. And to this day, I'm thrilled to death that I overshadowed him for that one moment.
I have a similar type of thing that happened. I did 3 movies with Steven Seagal, and I did one called Under Siege, and all the stunt guys in the business know if we do a movie with Seagal, it's going to be rough. And so I did, we were on the ship for Under Siege, and there was a group of like young guys that came on, like I think they were like Cub Scouts or something, Boy Scouts, came on to visit the set. And one of them recognized that I had played Jason. I was only a stunt guy in this movie. And he came over and asked me to sign a piece of wood. I don't know why he had a piece of wood, maybe it was part of the set or something. He asked me to sign it. And I put, you know, Kane Hodder Jason. And then a couple hours later, I saw all the kids gathered around Seagal. And they were all asking him to sign stuff. And I'm watching, and I see this kid with the wood. And I said, "Oh, no, don't give him the wood." He gives him the wood to sign, and I see Seagal look at it, and he goes, "Who the fuck is Jason?" So it was a little bit different type of story. He wasn't too happy that somebody else had signed an autograph on the set, but it was kind of funny.
All right, next question out here. Wait, you have to make an announcement sign every time?
No, it's fine. Well, this question is for Sean. I hate to put you on the spot, but I was just wondering if maybe you could shine a little more light on in the Freddy versus Jason movie, why Kane wasn't selected for that.
Oh, well, he had, it was his language.
Finally, we know.
My eloquence. Fuck you, Sean.
Well, there you have it. Okay. Next question, anybody? Any more questions? All right, I'll go to her first, Meg. Over to you.
And this question is for Sean. When the first Friday the 13th was being filmed, did you ever have any imagination that it would have gone on and Jason would have lived as long as he did?
That was his plan. He knew it all along.
Yeah, no, anybody who's familiar with that is, what we were hoping to do is finish the movie. You know, maybe it would be done. Never thought of anything like sequels. Even when it was finished, nobody thought of doing sequels or bringing back Jason as a character to string it all together. That happened almost on its own. But I wish I could tell you that I had anything to do with planning it, especially as at the beginning of what became the franchise. I was pretty convinced that putting a guy with a potato sack on his head was a pretty dumb idea for and then they said, well, we can improve it. We put him in a hockey mask. I remember Steve Miner and I were talking about that for part 3, when I guess it was in part 3 that the hockey mask started to become memorialized. And we just, what we decided was that we were in iconic territory, and it had nothing to do with real life, and it was sort of like this faceless face of evil. And that's actually why I think in lots of times you try to get a glimpse of who's under the mask or what drove him and all the rest of that. And I think it's generally best kept really small, if at all, because he's not individualized. He's sort of an eternal force for darkness. I also, just on the other question, because I ask myself so many times, what's up with Jason? I mean, what is the dynamic of this? Because ordinarily when you go to a movie and somebody's in jeopardy, you hope that person's going to survive, and that's the sort of the core element of most thrillers. You go to Jason, all they're doing is waiting for Jason to kick somebody else's ass. And it's sort of like you go to a game and you're going to choose up sides, and the other guys don't know how powerful your guy is, right? So they choose the head cheerleader and the quarterback and some smart ass, and maybe some druggie, but they don't know who they're talking about, you know? And every time the arrogance of the apparent protagonist come up against Jason, and whatever it is, boom, it's never going to work. And there's something kind of fun and predictable in that arrogance. I think it's kind of, I don't know that there is another villain, maybe Freddy, who gets that. You just aren't going to win that battle, but you don't know it. That's and the scene that I never saw that I really wish it happened. When they did, I think it was Friday 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, right? I wanted Jason to be going across Central Park, and three bums are going to try to mug him. I just would have loved to see it. We never had.
All right, who had the question back here?
Yeah, hi. This is for Sean, and I was just wondering, I remember there was just so much hatred directed at these films by critics. I always wondered if it was really directed at you, and just you being an indie, Hollywood outsider being successful in Hollywood. I never understood that. Thoughts? I've gotten some heat, but it's never, I never took any of it seriously. When movie reviewers, at least back when you're talking about, were reviewing things, in general, their attitude was the important event wasn't the movie. The important event was their review of the movie. and so, what reviewers would discover was audiences liked Friday the 13th, or they liked Freddy Krueger, or they liked the genre that, in general, we might refer to as horror. And they never thought it was a good idea for people to like it. And so they would just say, that's just terrible. And it was as if there was some stigma in the event. It wasn't that the making of it was bad, it was that its existence was bad. And I'm not sure that it's there's a part of fun in a horror movie that those critics didn't get. And at first I thought that it was that these guys might be watching these movies at home, and that's just a bad place to watch it by yourself, you know. The worst screening we ever had with Friday the 13th was the first screening we had with no music and no effects, and the key element, no audience. So we just sat there, those of us that were working on it, and this thing unfolded, and it was just so grim and awful. And I said, I don't know what I've done. I wonder if this is ever going to come together. And when we wound up putting the sound effects and then Harry's score and an audience in the theater, that's when it all turned around. The audience is a critical part of the good time that you have when you go to see a horror film. I don't think anybody rides roller coasters by themselves, and I don't think you should see, I don't think you should see a horror film by yourself. Anyway.
All right, we have time for one more question. Someone make it really good, and of course it's all the way in the back.
With the recent controversy with the Batman series and the actors, did you ever have any controversy with people saying, oh, this person can't play that part or not?
Yes. It had to do with Kane Hodder's language. I just don't think I should say that.
I don't blame him.
He's still wrong for the part.
Are we about the end of this?
Almost, yeah.
There's an old saying in show business, always leave them laughing. Well, this is a little story I've told before, but I hope some of you weren't there. They were making a movie in San Francisco called Portrait in Black with Lana Turner, Anthony Quinn, and Sandra Dee. Quite a movie. And I had just come off of a big Western, and Paramount called me and said, Ted, we want you in San Francisco. So I showed up at this 5-star hotel, which I don't remember the name of, with a pair of Levi's on and boots and an old Please Don't Rain suitcase. And that was the days when producers, big name producers, were wearing Levi's with a little bit of holes and the denim shirts were not ironed. So I walked up to the desk and nobody waited on me. And I stood there. Finally I rang the bell and they started jumping up and everywhere. And I said, listen, my name is Ted White. I'm from Paramount Studio. And they said, Mr. White, we're sorry. I said, I want to register. They said, you don't need to register. Everything's taken care of. And I said, oh, it is? And they said, yeah. I'd only been in the business about a year and a half. So they said, I started the elevator. He said, no, you have a private elevator over here. I said, I have a private elevator. He said, yeah. And I said, well, the studio is really going first class here. We get there, put the in, and we go up. And when the elevator stops, there's this gorgeous, great big room, beautiful gas top bar thing, and a bar, horseshoe-shaped bar full of liquor, and on the tip in front of it was a big thing full of fruit with a glass cover over it, cellophane over it, said, good luck. And I said, now this is first class. I got to call home and tell them about it. So the next day I went to work and I told the crew, I said, boys, you got to come to my room. I got all the booze in the world up there. The crew, about 20 of them came up and they drank, ate all the fruit. Next night they came up again, did the same thing, then we switched to work nights. So we're now down on the beach. And I'm walking down, there's a 55-gallon drum, they have a fire going. And there's Anthony Quinn sitting here, and 2 guys sitting in chairs over here with suits on. And as I walked up, Anthony Quinn said, Ted, you have made this crew the happiest bunch I've ever worked with. And one of the guys in the suit said, do you work here? And I said, yeah, I do. And he said, what do you do? I said, I'm a stuntman. And I said, I double Anthony Quinn. He said, well, what's your name? I said, Ted White. He said, you son of a bitch, my name is Ed White. I'm an executive producer, and I'm in the Broncos.